Alright guys, so today we're going to be doing the transmission service kit or filter kit that we have for the 1985 Chevy G20. This van has a 305, so 5-liter V8, and it's mated to a 3-speed automatic transmission. The transmission filter kit that we've ordered comes with a new gasket to reseal the transmission pan with. And as always, any new parts we get, it's just a good habit to go through and make sure that there's no defects in it before we install them on the vehicle. So the gasket looks good. The filter, once you remove the transmission pan, the filter is accessible inside, and this will bolt up to the valve body. The filter is used to take out any particulates in the hydraulic system of the transmission. So as our clutch bands wear, microscopic bits of metal, fragments will get picked up in this mesh and not reintroduced into the really sensitive valve body of the transmission. Once this is all done and back together, we'll fill it with new fluid and take it for a test drive. Okay, so the transmission has 12 bolts holding the pan in. Because of age of this car and the fact that it's domestic, we're actually using standard driver sizes. So this is a 1/2-inch socket. Put an extension on the ratchet, which will allow us to get clearance around the exhaust and the transmission crossmember. We'll also be using this because there's no way to drain the pan on this one. We actually have to hold it in place, undo all the bolts, and then gently tip the pan to let the fluid out. So we'll be using this to have all of our fluid drain into it and hopefully limit the mess. Alright guys, so the transmission pan is off. Our seal is still here. We're going to remove this. And then we'll take it to our bar salt tank to clean up any of the residual. And you can see in the bottom of the pan, there's some filings which kind of tell us that potentially this transmission is starting to wear. These would be bits of our clutch packs, bands and clutches that sit within the transmission. And there's actually a little bit of grit in there. So it's probably a good thing that we're replacing this. Hopefully we can extend the life of it a little bit longer. Alright guys, so we're going to clean off the edge of the transmission where it mates to the transmission pan. What you're looking at now is the valve body and the filter there, where you can see where there are 2 flat blade screws holding it in. And the remainder of the silicone that we'll have to remove before we mount the pan back up. this is our transmission filter kit. I showed you the pieces earlier in the video. So this is our new filter here. This gasket is going to seal between the valve body and the filter, and this gasket here will seal our new transmission pan. Alright, so I cleaned up our transmission pan, ground off some of the rust, and then gave it a fresh coat of paint. Makes it a little bit cleaner at least, and will look a bit more presentable on the van itself. Inside is clean as well. There's no debris, no overspray or anything that's going to affect the transmission in any way. Alright guys, so this is our valve body. You can see that our filter would actually bolt up right here. There's our 2 bolt holes. We come around to the driver's side. You'll see up here, this is a lever used to actually select park, reverse, neutral, and drive. That will move a valve within the actual valve body itself, selecting drive, reverse, neutral by applying certain clutches within the transmission itself. Our sealing area up here has been cleaned, free of oil, so that the gasket will go on dry and made up and seal nicely. Alright, so the next step in our transmission service is to reseal it now. The pan is cleaned up. I've also flattened some of these edges. It was a slight bend into it just from being taken off a couple of different times. In this case, our seal, it's actually a rubber or urethane seal. I'm not sure what the makeup of it is. I want to make sure that it does in fact fit on our pan and that the holes line up, which it doesn't. Oh no, there we go. Boom. Perfect, holes line up. Sometimes you'll see the seal, or gasket in this case, made out of cork as well. In a worst case scenario, if none of this was available, you can use RTV, which is a type of silicone. It's not suggested. We should always use our original equipment gaskets if we can. Sometimes, in some cases, we will put a small amount of RTV, maybe just to hold the gasket, but ideally we want the gasket to be dry so that it sticks in place. I'm going to take this pan now, go over to the transmission, hold it up in place, and then put our new bolts in, and being very cautious too that the transmission side is clean and free of all oil, as well as the pan.